This meeting is being recorded.
Hey everybody, this is Monica Karam. I'm an intuition and trauma coach, but today I am speaking to someone who I want to know more about her life, her son's life. I'm here with Sonia Rodi. Hey Sonia.
Hi.
How are
everyone.
you?
I'm fantastic.
Look at that light that's coming in. See everybody, angels are with us today. It seems on her side, mine haven't come in yet, but it's all good. So Sonia, tell me about you. Tell me, and let's tell the audience all about this wonderful topic we want to hear about.
Thank you. I first want to say thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And allowing me to share my story. My name is Sonia. I'm a child behavior specialist and a Down syndrome advocate. My beautiful son, Mateo, was born with Down syndrome. He is now 12. He is my purpose, my passion. He's the reason my journey has led me to being a child behavior specialist and really advocating for all children and adults with Down syndrome. I don't think we know enough. I don't think we share enough of the good, hopeful stories. In my experience, the diagnosis is delivered very negatively. So it gives you a very bleak outlook of your child.
So how do they tell you? So let's say you're how many weeks now? When do they tell you?
Well, we knew because I had decided to, after the prenatal test, I was given a 1 in 5 chance of my child being born with Down syndrome. So we decided to have the amnio because I wanted to be ready and start planning. So when we got the results of the amnio, they confirmed that he would be born with Down syndrome. So when they call you
Just
in.
A quick question, is it always correct? What's the
percentage? The amnio is spot on because they really take your amniotic fluid and they test it. So that's the test that will give you 100%. Prenatal, like I said, it's a 1 in 5, so it's like a 20% chance.
Okay.
But I'm the type, I love to plan and I wanted to be ready.
I've met you. Yeah, I kind of figured that one out.
I needed to be ready. I wanted to just hit the ground running. So when they, and no judgment because everyone makes their own decisions. But the first thing they asked me if I wanted to meet the doctor who terminates pregnancies.
Okay. But that's an option that everybody, depends where you live these days, but.
Yeah. So no judgment.
Because not everybody can handle, like it's.
The way I see it, it depends. Yeah, it depends on your relationship. It depends on if you have any support.
And what kind of strength is the couple. Because this can make or break you sometimes. I know
have
from
to be on
kids
the same
that
page.
have learning difficulties and different things.
Yes, you really have to be on the same page. But it took me off guard.
Of course it did. First child also.
Yes, and we had difficulties getting pregnant as well. So I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. But I was fortunate because our geneticist was really sensitive. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't offend you. I said, no, I just was surprised that that's the first thing that's offered.
What do you think if you had a magic wand and you went back to that time, how do you think a doctor or somebody should approach?
I think they should approach with more sensitivity and really say, you know what? Yes, there are health issues, developmental delays, speech delays. However, they're beautiful children with big hearts and want what every other child wants. You want to be loved, you want to be accepted, you want to learn, you want to grow, you want to be part of something so big. So I wish they would highlight that as well and maybe have like a little, what I always dreamed of was having like a roster of families.
That's what I was thinking, a roster of family or maybe a brochure with, I don't know, speech therapists, coaches like you or something that is like, these are the people that can help you on this journey.
Yes, and can help you make a decision. Say, speak to them and make an informed decision, whatever that decision is. And I'll be very honest, the pamphlets I got from probably 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, but like it doesn't do anything for us. And she was very nice. And she's there, I know we have to start with the negative. I said, I get it. You have to give the family the true facts. I'm all for
So
that.
what are the true facts? What are the things that they told you to expect? Just so,
So the major, aside from developmental delays, which are usually mild to moderate speech delays, the health concerns. So
uh-huh,
there could be thyroid disease, congenital heart
uh-huh.
disease, tummy issues, cataracts, hearing problems. So it's a myriad of potentially serious. But when I see these kids are resilient, I have few
I've
friends.
seen your son,
They're, they're like little, they're little fighters that don't stop. Because I've seen some of these kids at 3 months old have open heart surgery, and 2 weeks later they are like, boom, I'm ready for the world.
but it
So
does take the parent
it
who
takes,
is their biggest advocate.
yes,
If a parent is not able to be their biggest advocate, this can be a very big
you have
issue
to,
for the child and for the
yes,
parent. I mean, it's they have to do their own. I don't know, not have to. I guess no one's forcing them to, but accepting it, doing
yes,
some sort of, I don't know, therapy or coaching or something that will help them be okay to go in. Because if you're not okay going in,
no.
it's
I will
going to
say
pour over at the child, I'm sure.
yes. And I've seen it happen. Unfortunately, I've seen where the lack of acceptance and the child suffers because they don't feel that you are their biggest champion. Like we celebrate Down syndrome every opportunity we get. Mateo calls it his superpower, and it is. It makes him who he is. Without it, he wouldn't be Mateo. He wouldn't be this light. And that's what I want parents to see. I want everyone to see him through my eyes. So to see that light, because he changes people, he changes lives just with one hug, one smile. He has that potential to look at you and say, you need something from me today.
Oh,
He has that. I had a friend, and really quick story, who one day wrote to me and said, Sonia, I was feeling broken today. And I saw Mateo and he gave me a hug. And it's like he put the pieces back.
so what you're saying in a roundabout way is that he's an empath and he
Yes.
feels, so they might not be able to verbally express everything that they want to say, but they can feel you.
Yes. Everything. Mateo is completely an energy kid. He will just take and absorb and engage you just by the energy that you emit. Now, is there a one size fits all? No.
No.
Everyone's journey is different. Is it a tough journey? Yes. Is it a journey that you're fighting constantly to get services and resources and acceptance? Yes. Will you feel defeated? Yes. But, but what they bring to you cancels all that out because they teach you how to be better people, more loving. They are
More
the
patient, I can
patients.
imagine.
They just embody unconditional love. If you want to learn about unconditional love, it's them. It's Mateo just looks at you for you and how you interact with him and how you make him feel. There's everything else is just clutter. It's just you. So, you know, but again, you have to be ready for the fight.
So tell me, you find out, and now there's a conversation you have to have with your husband
Yes.
and with your immediate surroundings, like your immediate family, your immediate support system. You've got to get a support system in place
Yes.
when you find out this information. So how would parents, how did you do it? Because you coach people on this. So what would you tell, walk me through it. I'm sitting down. We've just had this diagnosis. Each one of us is like processing it.
Yes.
And now we're sitting down together and we're like, what do I do? What are we going to do? You have to be on the same page here.
Yes. And as a
And
couple,
what's your feelings? What's your emotions on this topic? Like
and
the
yes.
conversation.
So as a couple, we were automatically on the same page, which I'm very blessed that we were. So we both were ready for whatever came our way. So we had that foundation set. When we sat down with our families, everyone had varied emotions about it. The way I am is I will only surround Mateo with people who are accepting and who want to see him flourish and see past the disability. So what I advise parents, and I know sometimes it's hard because when it comes to family, we have a tendency to feel that, well, we can't eliminate people from our lives. And that may be true that you can't eliminate them, but you can choose who's in your inner circle and how often you see them. Because at the end of the day, it has to be about your mental health, your child's mental health, and where they feel the most comfortable. And with Mateo, you saw who he felt more comfortable with.
He'll tell you, you'll feel it. He might be quieter when he's around somebody.
Yes. And he was. You saw the distance he kept. You saw how quiet he was. He wasn't his usual bubbly self. And then the minute he was surrounded by the people who were automatically in love, we will do everything we can. What do you need? You know, they were there for us. Do you need me to come to the hospital with you? What does he need? What do you do? Like they did their homework. They asked questions. And you would see he'd be like all happy and bubbly and playful. And then there's others who were more worried about what other people would think.
So tell me, so now he goes into school.
Yeah.
So now you're going into the school system. Do you think, how long, what kind of school do I send him to? Do I send him to I mean, in Canada, it's a different story because you have schools that are equipped for different kids. Obviously, in other countries, it's a different story, but we're talking about Canada here. So he goes to a regular school.
Yes, he goes to public school.
So what happens at the school? Like from day one, it's obvious he's going to need different kind of support in the school.
Yes. So what happens is that we did our homework on different schools. So you do have to do your research. There's a lot of groups out there that supply information about different schools in your areas, and how they are with children with varied needs, with learning challenges. What type of resources do they have? How much resource time do they get? It is based on a code because our children go through a psychological evaluation, and based on that, they get a particular code. And then that code comes with resource time.
So is this psychological evaluation done in a therapist's office, or do they do it in the school?
We had it done at the school. You could be on a list. I would say the wait lists are very long. So a lot of parents either have it done in the school or privately.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough that there was a psychologist at the school, so she had it done in school.
Okay.
And based on his code, that's how he received his one-on-one aid.
Okay.
That was with him from kindergarten to 6th grade. It changed throughout the years, but there was always someone assigned to him to help him with the curriculum and modify it for him. But you have to do your homework on schools, and don't only look at it academically, look at the community.
This is very important.
You have to look at the families that are in that community. And I have to say, we were so blessed because all the parents and the kids, they really nurtured Mateo. They made it a safe, accepting. He was just Mateo.
He wasn't so key.
Yeah, it wasn't Mateo who had Down syndrome. It was Mateo. He's like my friend. He's funny and he's smart and he loves to dance and he loves music. And so that's what you look for. So it's not just about the school structure, but it's also the community within that structure. But we did a lot of work. We visited a lot of schools. And you have to tell yourself, I'm going to try. What's the worst that can happen? It just doesn't work out.
No, it doesn't work out. I move his school. Let's, What about his development? Like, is there, I don't really know much. Speech, is he verbal enough to express himself, or is there there must be a line, like how far they can
No, I know.
You know what I'm trying to say.
It's with Down syndrome, it's always mild to moderate in terms of developmental delays and speech delays. But I have to say, we lack services here. So we did speech therapy privately.
Okay.
And we started about 2.5. And it was the best thing we ever did because by the time he got to preschool and kindergarten, he could communicate. He can tell anyone how he was feeling, if he was sad, if he was angry, if he was hurt, if he was hungry, whatnot.
Okay.
And the biggest, a lot of parents are told, don't worry about speech, he'll get that in school. No,
No.
don't do that because school resources are also very limited. And he will
And they
get
have all these other kids that they have to deal with. So if you want more, you need to pay for more, you know?
I would, if there's anything I would invest in, is that.
So from 2.5, you started?
I would,
That's-
yeah, anywhere from like, I would say from 2 years old, start, like it's a good point. But higher, someone, we worked with someone, she came to our house every week,
Mhm.
but she taught us and him.
Okay.
So
So it's very important also that people like you, who's a coach who teaches parents, because really, I mean, at any point, any of us as parents, we have no manual.
no,
I wish we had a manual that said this is how you deal. But you're going to be looking at people who are kind of doing it right.
yeah,
You know,
it's
so
it's trial
these are
and
the
error.
people who are going to be teaching you, like someone like you who's most days doing it right. You know, I mean, none of us do it right every day. Like,
Yeah,
we try,
fingers
but
crossed.
at least can help other parents just
Yes,
navigate,
yes, yes, and that's,
because we don't want to just wing it. We just want to be able
you
to
want to be
have a
prepared.
guide,
Yeah, and like I said, there's no
and we
one
do
size.
wing it at times.
We do because what works for one might not work for another, and then that's applicable to all kids. But at least if you can have a certain road or feel like you're supported and it's okay. Yes, one day you're going to feel like a total rock star and pat yourself on the back, and another day you're going to be like, wow, was that a
Mm.
failed day or what's the story? And that's okay. I want to teach parents to, you're not perfect. Your kids don't need you to be perfect.
And
They just
also
need,
talking to our kids about today wasn't a good day.
yes. And maybe, if you lost your temper and got dysregulated and you yelled, saying, you know what, mommy's really sorry. I didn't mean to yell. I will do better next time.
And it's
And
not about you also, because sometimes kids think it is about them.
yes, exactly. And you always want to make sure it has nothing to do with you. It's just, I needed to take a step back and take a breath and then come in. So I think a lot of parents want to try to do everything so perfectly, and you don't have to. Really don't have to. Your kids just want to be loved. And if they know you love them, you're
My
gold.
God, they're superstars. They have that superpower of
Exactly.
feeling like they can conquer the world because they are loved.
Exactly. Like when Mateo sees me get like feisty and he looks at me, he's like, "Oh, mommy, they don't know you." I'm like, "No, they don't, but they
There's
will."
nothing more beautiful than a parent that's advocating for her kid.
And I, he knows I'm
You
always in his
become
corner.
a.
My cousin
I've
calls me
been
the
there.
bull.
Yeah, no.
And
So
I'm like,
tell me something, because I'm always going to talk about intuition, right? So being an intuition coach, that might be something that you tell me how your intuition and your gut feeling comes in when you have to make a decision on
I
something for your child.
I always go with my gut. If it feels right in here, I know I'm making the right decision. If I have even a little bit of doubt, I'm like, maybe I have to rethink this one or look at a second option. But I always go with my gut. And if I have a good feeling when I walk into a school or I speak to someone, I'm like, yeah, you're going to be good for my kid. And that's how we made the decision with any therapist we work with, schools, friendships. If I get that really solid feeling, then I'm good to go. If I have even this much doubt, no, it's not happening. And I gauge Mateo. Mateo's the same like me.
So you
He'll
ask
walk.
him.
I always ask him when he walks into a school, how do you feel, mommy? I love it. Okay,
Mm.
then you're good to go. When he meets someone, And I've asked him about specific teachers. Some he'll be like, oh yeah. And then somebody will go like, eh. Or he'll give me like a thumb. He goes, mommy, like this, halfway, not up, not down, halfway. I'm
That's
like, okay.
fantastic. So you know what you're teaching him also is to make his own decisions later when you're not around or you're not with him, when you're in school. He trusts his gut.
Yes,
There's
always.
nothing more powerful. So I can do this all day because this is so interesting. But there's two questions I want to ask you. One, bullying. Has he ever been through bullying? Has he
I have
ever had kids criticize him, make fun of him, tease him?
no, up to now, there's been no bullying. I had to waiver some kids away from him because he's such a vulnerable child and a people pleaser, and he wants to make you happy. So if you ask him to do something, he will do it for you. So there's been that a bit of like, kids who prey on that vulnerability, but we action it right away and it was taken care of. So also you need to watch your kids. So if you see that there's something changing in eating habits, sleeping habits, their demeanor, and that's what I noticed about him. He came home and he was like, oh, I really don't want to go to school. And I was like, what? From a kid who loves school? What's going on? So, and through meetings and talking to the resource and teacher, it's like, okay, so these relationships can no longer go on. They need to be on one end. He needs to be on the other. And the minute we did that, went back to himself.
It's very important because you know the difference. If you are present in your kid's life, you know that there's something going on with them.
Yes. That connection that my husband always says, he goes, you are so connected. It's everything you feel, he feels, and everything he feels, you feel. And we really are like that.
That's
We really have.
So my final question, how do you look after yourself? Because this takes a toll. Like parenting is, I think, I know, one of the most difficult jobs ever. It's a 24-hour job. It takes everything from you. So
Yes.
how do you refuel, as I call
it? When he was younger, I didn't. It was all about him and taking care of him and his needs and fighting and advocating for him and fighting for resources. And it declined. I saw myself decline. I was not who I was anymore. And then I said, okay, you know what? Taking care of yourself doesn't mean taking away from him. And I think that's what moms specifically have to get over, is that we always feel like if we take care of ourselves, then we somehow are taking something away from them, and you don't. So how I refuel is I like to take time for myself. I love to write. I love to weight train. I love to take walks. Even that half an hour, you have to do it for yourself. You have to. It's mentally, physically, emotionally, you need to take that time for you because it is a journey that can be draining on some days. But it's rewarding at the end of the day. So it's a mix of everything all together. So if you don't have that balance and you don't take that time for you, you can sink really deep and then lose yourself. And you don't want to lose yourself. It's important to keep who you are as well. And it doesn't do it. And the way I look at it is when Mateo sees me taking care of myself, it's going to teach him to take care of himself as he gets older and to prioritize himself.
And also put boundaries, right? So if
Yes.
you are setting boundaries to your time, to make sure that no one interrupts you when you're having your self-care time, this tells him and teaches everyone around you how to treat you and how to be.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And he's at that age, he's 12. So he's at that age where he understands it. He's getting it, this is mommy's time. This is my time. This is daddy's time. This is, we all have our own, and sometimes he'll just be like, mommy, can I go play downstairs by myself? Sure. And that's his time. Okay, he wants to be beautiful by himself. So we're teaching them. As taking care of ourselves, we teach them as well. So
and doing the work on ourselves, like whenever something comes up, they don't need to learn from what you tell them. Sometimes what you show them is what
Yes, Excellent point. Yes. I always say lead by example.
Because I always see it with my children. Like I think I'm telling them stuff, and I think they're not listening, but then they see you doing it and
Yes.
they surprise you by what they say sometimes, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So
And we say, oh, you are listening. Okay.
yeah, like I'm like,
Excellent.
whoa, interesting, you were
It catches
listening.
you off guard. You're like, yay.
So what's the last point you'd like to make? Is there something that you would like to say to a parent, like, I don't know, a gem, something, leave them on a note that hope.
Yes. Just follow your heart and think about this little human that you can bring into the world and how they impact the world and how they change the way the world looks at every individual. Yes, do your homework, but make sure you're talking to the right people, the people who do instill hope and kindness and acceptance and who lift you up, not the negativity. Try to leave those voices out because sometimes we let those get too much in our head and you need to wash those away. Touch base with people. Like I'm on a list where families can contact me to share my journey. And I've had people come into my home saying, come and meet my son and look at how he's grown. So you can physically see like what you can see in that moment. And the decision is always yours, but just follow your heart, follow your gut. You know, nothing is perfect in life, but man, I don't know what I would do if Mateo wasn't in our life because he has changed us immensely. He's made us better humans that I can ever imagine. And he teaches me every day. I'm not his teacher, he's my teacher. And I wish the world would see that. And I hope.
That's it. We don't know that they don't speak about, we don't speak about how our kids are a reflection, and it's a two-way street, right? We're not only the teachers here. Sometimes they teach us and they're so profound with what they say that you're like, oh my God. And many parents, we don't listen to their profoundness. We're like, listen, I'm the parent, you're the kid. But sometimes when you stop to listen to them, they're fascinating. And they have some nuggets of wisdom that you didn't even think about.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, my kid is telling me.
Yes. And that's the beauty. And to miss out on that beauty for me would be so sad. Just really speak to people who lift you up and then, you know, who are going to give you the good, the bad, the journey, the, you know, the toughness of it. But at least you're making an informed decision and you've looked at all aspects. And then whatever, how your life is doing, well, I don't know that, but I can just share that my life would not be the same if I didn't have Mateo in it.
And
And
at the end of the day, parenting,
is
it's
a
any
road.
kid.
It's a
You might have issues with other things, that each kid, each journey. But
yes.
Sonia's here. If any of you are going through this, contact her. She's a coach. She'll help you through it. She's been through it.
Yep.
So Andy's still going through it. It's not like it's an end of a journey.
It's a different.
You're going through teenage years.
Yeah. Next
I have
phase.
3 of them too. The third one is now we're past the teenage year, but it's so important. So contact her. And Sonia, thank you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy we had this conversation because maybe it opened eyes to parents who are going through it now, and they see a light at the end of the tunnel, you know?
I hope. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
You
Bye,
too.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.